So today I'm calling out all my faults. I'm putting myself out there completely vulnerably, and I'm going to talk about all the things I do wrong. I'm going to talk about all of my sins, all of my faults, all of my failures. Every time I come short, every time I fall short. And the inspiration for this episode is because in recent times I think I need to hear it for myself. I need to put it out there, and maybe it will help you guys in some way as well. But this is more so for me. Not a lot of people watch it, of course. Even if a couple of people watch it, it's okay. This is for me to be vulnerable, to be completely real, be completely honest with myself in a not self-deprecating way, but in a way to truly call everything out, put myself out there, and put myself in the spotlight for all the issues I have. Because I'm not perfect. I make these videos, and you don't see this side of me. You don't see the side where I talk about the things I do wrong. So I'm going to get really vulnerable, really deep with what I do wrong each and every day. And I'm going to hopefully do better every day, and I have to try and do better. But right now, in the state that I'm in my life, I have to call myself out each and every day because I need to do better, because I'm really, really falling short in many aspects. So here we go. I actually don't have a lot of notes. Usually I have this notebook here and I write my notes down for the show. But literally today I only have like 10 words just to guide me on what I'm going to talk about. First and foremost, we're talking about my pride. For some reason, I don't know why, I have this internal innate main character complex, superiority complex. I don't deserve it. All I did was go and pursue football. I actually haven't done anything with my life so far. I'm still learning and growing every day. But for some reason, I have this small sense of like I'm better than everyone else, know-it-all type of attitude. And that's something that's not going to get me anywhere. And I know this. But for some reason, I just keep falling into those same patterns, which is like thinking that I know it all. And then when someone corrects me, not even in a disrespectful way, but they correct me, I get like all mad and riled up. And it's like, why? And then I look inward and I find why. Why is because for some reason I think I'm better than everyone else. But that's what God teaches. That's what Christianity teaches. That's what Jesus is teaches me. And I understand that we're all made equal, that I'm not deserving of anything else any more than anyone else. And I don't really deserve anything. Everything is a gift from God, and all the great gifts are gifts from God. But for some reason, internally, I just can't grasp it. I still seem, for some reason, to just think, oh, I deserve it. But I know that I don't. I'm aware of that. I read the Bible. I know the teaching. I know what I'm supposed to do better, but I just can't. I just get into that moment where, I want to make like a funny joke, or I want to demean someone with a joke or something like that and put myself up on a pedestal, and I do it instead of being emotionally controlled and able to be humble. And well, in recent days I've been getting humbling, and I'd be at the end of my day and I'd feel like crap because I got humbled. And then I go back, I analyze. I'm like, okay, why do I feel like crap? Really, the reason why I feel like crap is because I got humbled. I got my ego, my pride absolutely just destroyed. Which, in hindsight, is a good thing. It's a good thing, right? If it was something else, something more, then okay. Then I could look at it and maybe say, okay, maybe it's valid emotion to feel terrible after this day. But because it's my pride and my ego being stomped and destroyed by God giving me tests and challenges, then I can understand that, and I don't have to be so mad about it, right? I don't have to be so mad about certain days that I go through. Because I need humbling. Because for some reason I still seem to think I'm better than everyone else when I'm not, and I am absolutely aware of that. But it's just in the moment I have this internal complex that I have to get rid of really quick. Because what pride is I putting the glory on myself, even innately, even like subconsciously, putting the glory to myself rather than glorifying God. And that's only going to lead me to destruction. It's only leading me down a path of sorrows, and I know this. So I have to do better there. And I am, this is the first one that I'm calling out because this is the one that's probably the most topical for me right now in this stage of my life. That I have to do better. I cannot say I'm better than anyone else just because I did like one thing, which was go to Portugal. That was one thing, right, that I did that a lot of people don't do. But it's like, all right, we all have different paths. We all have different ways to get to the top. And it's like, mine didn't even work out anyway. Again, I haven't even actually achieved anything. Like, the point is, I haven't achieved anything anyway to have an ego. I have an ego at the bottom where it's like, all right, like, it's even more useless. It's useless either way, and God says that you shouldn't have it either way. But at least if you have money and status or something, you at least have a reason for it. You have something to back it up with. That like, oh yeah, I actually did this. This is how I prove it. This is why I am who I am. But for me, I don't have any of that, right? So I need to just get rid of this and just stop with my own pride, my own internal pride. And it's like that's the problem. And that's going to be the theme with all of these, right? I know what to do, right? Paul says this, right? The things that I ought to do, I don't do. And the things that I ought not to do, I do. That's what he says in the book of the Romans. And that's kind of how I'm feeling too. I know what to do. I know the teaching. I know what the proper behavior is. I know what the behaviors are that actually will help me do better. And that's going to be a common theme with all of these sins that I fall into. But the problem is I just don't do it, right? I just don't actually act on it. I don't actually control myself, control my emotions often enough to really, really hone the point home and really get it deep inside my head that it's like, you gotta just be humble, right? Be humble. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I fall into it, and as much as I know the things, I don't do it, right? And that's what I have to work on learning and building and continue to give the glory to God so that one day I may truly break through it. The next one is anger. Anger also is a pretty big problem in my life. Again, it's all down to emotional control. Really, it's emotional regulation. When things get heated, when we get in a bad argument, I'll get emotional, right? I'll get mad, right? Sometimes someone just, sometimes I just wake up and someone talks to me. I don't want them to talk to me. And it's like, I'm just pissed off. But then it's like, why am I pissed off, right? Why am I mad for no reason? Why do I get mad over the smallest issues? Like when it comes to the overarching aspect of my life, I wouldn't say I'm like angry, but I'm only angry at small things, feeble things, angry at other people. And obviously I know that's bad, but I find myself doing that. I get into a conversation and then a conversation turns into an argument and then I lose my head. I lose my emotions way too quickly. And then it causes the argument to go in a bad direction, or I storm out of the room because I don't want to keep talking about whatever we're talking about. That's happened more and more often recently. And it's like, the question is like, what am I doing? Right? Like I understand emotions are strong, emotions are powerful, and the devil is trying to, make me destroy my relationships in my anger. I won't let that happen. But I have to continue to work harder and better to not be so angry at people. And, that's why I throw away politics, for example, because politics is a big, big vehicle to drive anger and hatred and resentment towards others for virtually no reason over political beliefs. So that's why I throw away politics, because it's one step to getting to a point where I can truly do what Jesus says, love thy neighbor as thyself, without actually being angry at anyone or anything. Sometimes anger is just me wasting my energy because I get angry at something so stupid, right? Someone interrupts me during this episode. Here's a story. Here's a vulnerable thing that I'll just reveal to you. In the very, very first episode of this podcast, someone interrupted me maybe 10 minutes in, and I grabbed my microphone, I threw it on the floor, I screamed, and I was like super mad. I was angry. I was like, oh, I was mad. And of course I cut it all out, right? And then came back. The episode, it makes it look like nothing happened, but in the background, that's what happened. You don't see that because of the editing. But then immediately after that, I'm like, why? Like, why am I getting mad at this? It's not that big of a deal. I can just cut it out, right? So it's like, I'm still learning and growing in that way. But that's a good example to say that sometimes I do get mad at these terrible things. I let my emotions take control of me. I have to take control of my emotions. And that is a big fault that I have. It's a big sin that I have. And it's a big hindrance to myself. And I know this. And this is also tied to it. Judgment, judging others, hypocrisy. Someone does something, I'm like, oh, why are you doing that, right? But really, I do the same thing in some other context. It's kind of all the same because it's kind of all related, right? Pride, anger, and this judgment factor that's like, I'm angry at someone because they're doing something that I don't like, but in reality, I'll sometimes do as well. Maybe, I don't know, someone's super energetic in the morning and I really just don't want to talk to them, so I'm angry at them and I'm judging them. I'm like, oh, why are you so energetic? There's nothing to be excited about or whatever. And then there'll be a day where I'm super happy in the morning and I'll do the same thing and they'll feel the opposite way. And it's like, why judge in the first place? Why be angry at them in the first place, right? But I do that too. It's kind of all related, right? You judge people for their political beliefs because you don't agree with them. You judge people for their habits, for what they do, because you don't you know that they're bad, but you also participate in the same thing. I'm also guilty of it because it's like, for example, I see my parents on their phones and they're scrolling and they're just on the couch scrolling, and I'm like, why are you scrolling? Right? Scrolling is just destroying your brain. Obviously, now I can say that I can actually say that because I deleted all social medias, so I can actually say that's true. But I do other things, right? I do other things that ruin my brain. I distract myself in other ways, whether it be through video games, whether it be through just watching long form videos, podcasts. It's a distraction, all the same. Even if it's not the same scrolling motion, at the end of the day, it's still hypocrisy. It's still judging others. And it's like, you're playing the role of God, right? Judge and you shall be judged. It's like God is the ultimate judge and you're stepping in to say what's right or what's wrong. And I'm guilty of that. I do that. And I know that's bad. And I know that that's absolutely not what God wants. He wants me to love my neighbor. He wants me to love my brother, love my friend. And although I try my best, I fall many, many, many times. And I know this. Again, God's the ultimate judge, and I'm playing the role of God when I'm prideful, putting myself on a pedestal, arrogant, egotistical, extremely self-confident, overly self-confident, putting myself on a pedestal. And also playing the role of God when I'm judging others for their behaviors, when in reality, I'm evil, I have faults, and I do the exact same thing. So that's why I'm calling it out. That's why I'm just being completely honest and saying what happened, right? And what is happening and how I feel about these things. And I know it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I know that it's bad. I know that the teaching says exactly that. Judging you shall be judged. God is the ultimate judge. You should not play the role of God. I know this. I know this. But I still do it anyway because it's my innate human evil. You automatically look towards like the negative thing rather than a good thing, right? Someone wakes up in the morning and they're super happy and energetic rather than being just like angry at them and judging of them. It'd be better for me to like appreciate that, right? Be like, because it's better to spread positive energy than negative energy, right? In any circumstance in life. But it's just, man, it's just, it's something else where I just fall short, truly. And another big one's fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure. I talked yesterday, and if you want to watch it, go do it. I talked yesterday about fear of God, putting your fears onto God and not being able to fear anything in this world because you fear God so much. Truthfully, I'm not at that point. I'm not at that point. I talk about it because I know it's a thing that exists. I see it in other people where they're just completely fearless because they've been through the test, they've been through the tribulations to build them up in strength. They know they only fear God and they won't fear anything in this world. I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I don't know if I'll ever get there. It's only God's will and God's plan if I'll ever get there, but I'm not there yet. And I'm talking about these things because I know it exists, but I myself am not there yet. I'm still super fearful of many different things, right? In soccer, I get onto that field. I could have done every single preparation possible to get myself ready. Great night's sleep, music, mentality, breathing, praying, everything. And then the second the whistle blows to start the game, it all goes to dust. And I'm just nervous, fearful, right? Those butterflies in the stomach. And then I just play like crap, right? And I've had games exactly like that. I did everything right before the game started. And then that whistle blew and the fear just took me over. And I've had moments like that. And recently I've also had many, many moments like that where the fear would just take me over. And it's like, I know I'm not supposed to feel it. I know that, it doesn't matter in this world. 2 years from now, I won't feel those feelings again. 2 years from now, none of this will really matter. I won't feel the same emotions. I realize that there will be growth involved in it. But you just get into the moment and I'm fearful. And then I let the fear take me over and I perform worse than I would have had I just put my fear in God, had I just trusted Him in His plan and be fearless when it comes to doing things and tasks on this planet. But I can't do that. I'm just not at the place where I'm able to do that. I don't know how you learn. It's one of those unteachable lessons. Chris Williamson, who, isn't very religious at all, but it's still very true, these unteachable lessons. You don't learn how to fear God until you get put through the tests and tribulations and all that stuff. And I'm in the moment right now where I'm being put through exactly that. And in the moment of that is where the fear continues to hit me. And it's something that I would love to get through because I know I do better if I'm just not fearful. but it's just another emotion that I don't have control over, and it's another thing that just completely takes me over. And this ties into the next one: overthinking. The fear causes me to overthink, over reflect, and then sometimes I just talk to myself too much, I reflect too much, I waste too much time, and sometimes I talk myself out of doing certain things because I'm just overthinking. Well, of course, the response to that is to just take action, just do, stop thinking and just do, right? But there's a level of thinking you have to have. You have to be conscious with what you do. You can't just go and, walk up to somebody and just blabber away, right? You have to have some sort of a plan, right? If you're going to ask a girl out, for example, right? You can't just go up and just have nothing to say. You have to have something to say. Even if you just say, hey, I think you're really pretty, the basic line. If it's something to say, it's better than nothing. So you have to have some level of thinking, but you don't want to go too far where it ends up pushing you into further fears. It pushes you deeper into your shell. And that's exactly what I am guilty of. And I do that each and every day. I just overthink, I overtalk, overreflect. And again, this podcast, maybe it's a little bit of that, but hopefully this episode serves as a way for me to truly realize just how bad it is when it comes to my overthinking and how it's connected with fear and how it makes my fears even worse and even bigger and even harder to overcome because I'm just fueling it. That's what I'm doing. I'm fueling my fears by just like thinking negative thoughts, talking to myself in a negative way, whereas I have to flip the script. I have to change the frame. It's a process. I'm not going to change the frame, my own mental framing in one day. And I know this, but it goes back to the pride. I seem to think that, I want to get this done right now because I'm good enough to get this done right now. But then I don't get it done right now and I'm just done, right? I just don't and then I'm just distraught because I couldn't do it. I didn't live up to those huge standards that I set for myself. That's another big one. Huge standards. I set myself these crazy high standards to try and reach something that I'm never going to reach because I know God's plan. God's plan is absolutely, I'm not going to reach those things because it'd be too easy, right? It'd be too easy. God wants me to go through more tests, more tribulations to make me a better person because I'm still, there's still many more sins here that I go through that I'm still dealing with. So it's like only when I get to the point where I've at least cut down and I'm doing better in some of these aspects, that God will actually start building me up in a better way. But right now it's tests, it's trials, it's tribulations, it's tests of faith, tests of belief to see how long I can keep going, right? How much I can keep pushing. And with fear, with overthinking, with, extreme standards that I set for myself that I'm never going to reach, I need to set it to God's standards, not my own standards. Whenever I set it to my own standards, I don't reach them. And obviously, when it comes to football, when it comes to business, when it comes to athletics, I have learned those lessons the hard way many, many times. And yeah, like when it comes to, coaches telling me off or I make a big mistake and I lose the game. And I know this, right? If the more you think about making the mistake, the higher the chance it is that you will make that exact same mistake. I know this, right? I've been saying this to myself for years, right? For years, I've known this concept because through soccer, I know that that's exactly how it works. But I still think about making the mistake, and then I still make the mistake. So it's just like it's a difference between knowing what to do and actually acting on it. Acting on it, like from an emotional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, is something that's just so much like infinitely harder to do. And it goes back to what Paul says, right? It's just like you can know exactly what to do and still not do it. And you can know exactly what not to do and still do it. And that is what I'm falling into. And the fear, the overthinking, the standards, I have to set the bar a bit lower so I can at least hit the bar, get that win, right? That I've been so desperately needing because I haven't really won in anything yet. Like nothing in life, maybe some growth, right? Obviously the football journey experience was something very cool and I enjoyed it, but I haven't actually won at anything. I didn't actually make it, right? I didn't actually make a team. I didn't actually make something happen. Haven't actually made any money yet, or at least not a lot of money. So I have to start doing that, but I shouldn't set these high standards for myself because it only increases the fear, it increases the overthinking, it increases the pressure because then I won't hit those standards and then it will have me fall into despair again, which is what I don't want to do. So rather than setting standards for myself, I have to look at God's standards for me set the bar a little lower, and just slowly build myself up, right? Be slower. Maybe I go too fast. I think too fast, and the overthinking causes that. You end up thinking too fast. You end up wanting to go too fast. You want things to be quick. But reality, God's process is much slower, and the time frame is absolutely not the same as what you want it to be. And I know this, but I still fall into that exact same pattern of overthinking. So I have to stop these patterns. I have to really move forward in a better way, and I have to truly find ways to setting lower bars, lower standards, to reach those standards, and then slowly build myself up, rather than just making the jump from here to here right away. Make the jump from here to here to here to here to here, and eventually, after months and years, get to that point. But I want to be at this point now, right? And I think that's probably what a lot of people deal with. And it just fuels all of these negative desires, these negative emotions. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not what I want, but it's what God's will is for me, which I don't know, right? So I have to, keep moving and keep doing things regardless of, I don't know truly. You can never know truly what God's will is for you. You have to just keep doing things, and then eventually it'll be revealed to you. But I still absolutely fall into those very same patterns each and every day. The next one, something completely different, laziness. Now, this can be tied into the overthinking a little bit, because maybe I'm not actually that lazy, but again, it's kind of down to the standards, right? Like, I look at it and it's like, I'm supposed to wake up at 6:30. This happened today, and I'll just talk to you about what happened today. I'm supposed to wake up at 6:30, right? So at 6:30, my alarm rings, I wake up, I turn it off, I go downstairs, and then I get on the couch and I lie down on the couch, and then I wake up at 7:30. So I spent an hour on the couch downstairs because I was just that tired. So that's the question, Maybe if you can answer in the comments, I'd appreciate it. But in my opinion, that's laziness. I had the goal, I had the thing I needed to do. So now I'm in a rush to get out of the house and I'm in a rush to make this episode because I wasted too much time in the morning. Whereas if I wake up at 6:30 and get straight into my morning workout, my morning routine every day, it saves me an hour, right? That hour that I extra time sleeping in. It's not like I had 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep. I was on 6.5, 7 hours of sleep. That's more than enough to get through it, right? And I know it's not always about the time, it's about the quality, and sometimes I don't have good sleep quality, but the point is, it's I wasted an hour. So is that me? Can you make an excuse for that? I personally don't think I can make an excuse for that. I think that is just purely laziness, and that's purely not actually feeling, the feeling that fire, that desire, that kind of obligation to get up and make the most of your day. If I really felt that, I would not have wasted that extra hour. But my tiredness and me wanting to, sleep on a comfy couch gets the better of me. And this is something I'm dealing with. This is not the first time this thing's happened. It's been every single time where it's just, I'm doing this and, I'm waking up, I have an alarm, but then I wake up much later than the actual alarm. And then I finally get out of bed. And then, sometimes there's work I have to do that I don't do, that I put off. And it's all just little moments of laziness. Maybe it's not. A lot of people around me don't seem to think it is. But I'm very convinced that it is laziness, and that it is me truly not being appreciative of God's works for me. Instead, letting my tiredness take over, letting my comfort take over. And this is something I'm guilty of as well. So that's why I'm the doer. That's why I'm the guy who likes to take action. Because I take action in response to my own feelings. My own feeling is that I don't want to do it. I want to be lazy. I want to waste time. So the best course of action is to just get up off the couch and get started, right? In the morning with tiredness, I'm unable to do that. I'm still not able to do that consistently. Sometimes I do, but not consistently, because the tiredness and the intense feeling of it just takes over, and I can't just get up. In certain other situations, I can do it, and I can just get up and take action. But when it comes to this specific situation, I can't. So I'm pretty sure it's laziness, and God rebukes laziness. In the Bible, it's talked about sloth. Slothfulness is it's a rejected value. It is something that is a sin in and of itself, because it tells you that you don't appreciate God's works. It tells you that you're not actually going out and giving your all, because you're being lazy, you're half-assing it, and I'm guilty of all of those things. Could it be my own pressure I put on myself and my own standards I put on myself, and really it's not that bad? Maybe it is. But I see it as that bad. So I see it as something that I have to do better in. And, perhaps that in and of itself is a problem, that I see it like this, but what does God see it as? It goes back to the same type of things. Like, I'm focusing too much on myself rather than God. It's the same type of thing. So maybe that's the key, right? Figure out truly how God sees it, and work from there to do better. So the next one is lust. Lust, for me, is pretty big. It's pretty big. Lust is probably one of the devil's greatest weapons to lead you to destruction, to lead you to a life of misery. Because, well, God creates sex as the covenant between man, and it's supposed to be a beautiful thing. But the way the world's gone is now it's not a beautiful thing anymore. It is something just for pleasure, and there's pleasure everywhere when it comes to actual sex, one night stands, the way we are in the dating market, going to the club just to have that sex, or in your homes now you get to watch pornographic content that displays that. It's everywhere, and lust is a big battle that I have had to go through in these last couple of years specifically, because I know just how bad it is, right? And reading the scripture, reading the Bible, reading about just how bad it is, it's like, and just how much of a sin it is, and how strong it is, and feeling it in my body, how strong it is. It's something that ruins me at times. It has me making myself feel more like crap, because I've fallen into temptations. And I even see myself, I'm walking out there, I'm on the streets, I'm on the bus, and I see like a beautiful girl and I'm looking at her, right? And it's like, well, that's lust, right? Jesus says exactly that. That's lust. Even if you look at a girl in a sexual way, you've committed lust with her already in your heart, because your eyes tell the story. Where your eyes are looking is where your heart is. So I'm guilty of that too. And if I could learn to be more controlling of those feelings, I can be better. I can actually, find a good woman, find a good, meaningful relationship, lasting relationship, rather than, something crappy, something temporary. And it's down to who I am as a person to do better in that way. Because, of course, God absolutely rebukes that. God doesn't want me doing that, but I still fall in those ways as well. So this is a big one as well. I think not, in the overarching aspect, my lust kind of only shows up in certain circumstances. Of course, like, if you see a beautiful woman, the lust will show up. But if you're not really thinking about it, you're not really, like, I'm not really, dealing with it 24/7. But sometimes I have days where I'm dealing with like the anger and the pride 24/7. And it's like, and sometimes it goes into my sleep, right? I'm going in bed thinking about lustful fantasies, or thinking about things that make me angry, things that make me prideful. These are all things that just hinder me, right? And then they're cutting into my sleep because of my own thoughts and my own overthinking, right? Get back to it, right? It kind of all gets tied together in this little umbrella of sin and of just despair. So sometimes it happens. And then, I'm spending time over here. And, if I couldn't sleep because I was actually like, super angry about my situation and I really wanted to go out and do better, that's one thing. But some days I can't go to sleep because I'm thinking about these stupid things. And other days I can go to sleep super easily. So I don't have that innate anger that is like driving me to do better like a lot of people do. It's kind of just put into the wrong places. And that's where I have to regulate myself and put it into the right places. Put it into places. Well, obviously, there's no right place for lust, but in terms of anger, put it into the right places so I can truly move forward in a better way and give the glory to God and let Him do His work, rather than constantly stepping in the way of His work because of my own faults. The next one is I tend to extremities sometimes, and it's really real, where I have this amazing day and I'm super hyped, right? This happened this week on, what's today, Friday? On Wednesday, I had this amazing day. I was super hyped, super ready to go. I was like, yeah, like I was into it. I'm like, let's go and do this. I'm going to make money. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do all this, right? Yeah, I'm going to get a car. Things going to be amazing, right? And then yesterday, a couple of bad things happened. And then I was like, oh man, am I really cut out for this? I don't even know. Like, it's like, oh man, this is terrible. I suck. All this stuff, right? It's the extremities. It either has to be super amazing or super terrible. Like I will never, and I know this, I will never stick with anything. I will never stick with anything for years on end if it's in extremities. If there's super high highs and super low lows, the high highs will be great, but at the moment of the low lows, I will quit because it's just that polarizing, that bipolar feeling towards a certain project, certain business, certain situation, and it's like I know that that's bad. I have to find somewhere in the middle where you feel a little bit good when things are good and feel a little bit bad when things are bad. But for the most part, things are relatively balanced. And it kind of ties into the final one as well, which is the self-deprecation, right? In the moment of the lowest of the lows, I will just be talking crap about myself, saying how I'm not good enough, saying how I'm, how I messed up and how I need to do better and how this is terrible and yada, yada, yada. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I here? All these questions, right? All these things come up in my mind in the moment of the low lows. That's it, right? So it's the extremities. In the moment of the high highs, the pride comes out. Oh, I'm so good. This is amazing, right? In the moment of the low lows, the self-deprecation comes out. The actual sadness and internal self-anger comes out. And that's never going to lead me anywhere, right? And I absolutely know that. I'm never going to stick with anything ever if that is the way that I treat things. I have to be more emotionally regulated. That's also another common theme, is I have to learn to be emotionally controlled, right? Control myself, self-control, emotional regulation in my life. That's what I have to learn to do. So the extremities will absolutely destroy me. But I'm still, a good example is chess. And okay, it's chess, right? It's like it's a game, right? When I make a super good move, I'm like jumping all over the place. I'm like, oh my goodness, what a move! Like I'm cooking, right? And then when I'm getting cooked, I'm like screaming. I'm like, oh my, no, no! And it's like I can't play chess, right? And I stopped playing chess because I'm like, dude, this is just too stressful. Like, what am I doing, right? When things go well, I just like that was the first moment I kind of noticed that type of behavior in myself where like when things go super well, they go super well, and I magnify with like my reaction, and when they go terribly, they go super terribly because I magnify with my negative reactions. And my feelings, like it's just a game, man. You know what I mean? It's just a freaking game. Although it's a good game, it's a useful game, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. And I have problems raging in video games too because of the same thing. Things go wrong. They don't even have to go that wrong. They can just be a tiny thing that goes wrong, and I'm just screaming, throwing the controller, everything. As a kid, that I broke so many controllers in rage, and only now, I'm at 20 years old, am I learning that no, it's down to my inability to control my emotions, and always putting extreme circumstances onto things, always having it to be super super good or super super bad. But I have to find somewhere in the middle, and I have to find the emotional strength to land somewhere in the middle on most days, so that I can continue to be consistent, continue to persist, continue to be resilient, and continue to move forward in each and every pursuit that I'm on. And to wrap up this episode, this is basically those sins. I have now been super vulnerable, super clear, and I've made it 100% clear and honest that this is what I'm going through right now. These are the things I'm going through right now in my life. These are the things that are holding me back from being greater. And if I don't solve them, if I don't find the strength somewhere to do better, of course, I'll find the strength with God. But if I don't fully put my trust in Him, and I always trust myself, and then I continue to fail, I won't ever make it anywhere in my life. And I absolutely know this, right? These episodes are going to be going into the abyss. Episode 40, if I'm probably going to get through the 365 because I'm going to make it happen. And it's something that I said I'll be consistent on. But these episodes will be in the abyss. No one will watch them, and I'll just be a nobody for the rest of my life, right? Who knows where I'll end up. But if I can learn to control them, there is potential for me to be something great. And I absolutely know that because of my experiences so far in my life and who I am right now. But these emotions, these sins, these evils in my heart are what continue to hold me back each and every day. And although God and Jesus sees me as perfect because I trusted Him, continuing to fall into these very same patterns, very same emotions, eventually you got to ask the question, right? Do I truly trust in Him if I'm not even doing anything to improve my sins, right? Do I really hate my sins if I'm not doing anything to do better? But listen, I am going to do stuff to do better. So I definitely hate these sins. These sins make me feel like crap. And I know that they won't help me in my life. And I know they go against God and his will and his plan for me. And I know this. So I am going to continue to improve, continue to do better. But, just the last thing is that this isn't meant to be self-deprecating. This isn't meant to, lower my spirits. It's actually meant to give me some hope. It's meant to give me some, some clarity that okay, now I've actually broken it down. I've absolutely called myself out. I've put it on the internet, which of course is never good, but it's still fine. I've called out all of my wrongs, all of my faults, so that, and I have a video to look back on, that this is the full extent of what I do wrong each and every day, and it's absolutely true. And I don't think I missed anything. I think that's pretty much it. There's some smaller things, I'm sure, but this is the overarching, factor and scale of the problems that I have internally in my own head each and every day. And I saw it with football at times. I'm seeing it now with my current business pursuits. And I'm going to continue to see it until I finally break through, finally find that true fear in God, that I can truly break through and push through any circumstance. But this is not meant to be self-deprecating, and I can get into that like towards myself, I can get into that state, the self-deprecating, the destroying myself sometimes over things that don't even matter. But this is not supposed to be self-deprecating. It's to be, call it the devil, strip the devil, make him, completely naked, completely visible, exposed to the world, that these are the things he's trying to test me with. And well, I'm going to break through, and the devil will not win. He will not win in the long run. I'm stripping him down. I'm calling him out. And the more I do that, the more my faith in God and in Jesus will continue to grow, will continue to wax stronger. And, he will make himself manifest through my works and through me finally, eventually, one day, after a lot of hard work on myself, breaking through these sins and breaking through all these faults. So it's not self-deprecating this. This video is not self-deprecating. It is something to just be vulnerable, be honest with myself, and understand where I need to learn, where I need to grow, and where I need to be humble. Absolutely. So get out of here. If you're going through any of these individual things, just know that it's exactly that. Jesus Christ, through faith in him, sees you as perfect. Even if you're not deserving, we all have internal evils, but through Jesus we're made perfect, and he sees us as perfect. But just because he sees us as perfect doesn't mean there's things we can't improve. We absolutely have to do better. We have to hate our sins each and every day, call them out like I did today, be honest with yourselves, in truly where you fall short, truly where you do sin every day, and truly take the steps and make the efforts to do better and truly one day break free. It won't be fast. It will be a very slow, mundane, frustrating process, because things won't work fast. God works very slow, and that's important because he's teaching us patience. Because things won't be solved right away. But if you're on the process to doing better, on the process to finding that true emotional self-control, God will appreciate you for it, and he will reward you with great gifts once you become the person that is worthy of those gifts. And that is all God is putting each and every one of us through each and every day. These tests and these callings to doing better each and every day, and to glorifying his name through it all, and following his plan and trusting in him rather than in ourselves. And through that, we will live amazing lives, and we will have a bigger seat, a higher spot at the table through our faith and through our belief when we eventually leave this world and go rejoice in Jesus' kingdom as well. So that's it. That's all I got. Understand that concept, that yes, we all fall, we all fail. It's normal. We all make mistakes. We all sin. We all sin every day. But never be satisfied, never be content and comfortable in yourself, and never actually enjoy your sin. Always understand that it's bad, and it's probably better to use anger to do better, right? Get angry at yourself to do better than to just sit there in comfort and just be like, well, it happened, I know it's a sin, I'm trying my best, whatever, right? Versus actually making the conscious effort in the moment of temptation, in the moment of fear, in the moment of pressure, to actually learn one day to make the right decision when it comes to what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to behave, and how you're supposed to glorify God in each and everything that you do.